Everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to make piece number 4 on our gumball machine. Before we dive into it, highly want to encourage you, pause this video after short bits, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, flip over to Inventor, try to do the steps, and then flip back to this video. So take it in small little pieces back and forth as you go through this. We're going to go over to the workspace. And one of the first things I'm going to do is change a setting with the gear in the top right here. We want to change one of the keyboard options, and we want to turn off the automatic keyboard, as you can see here. Inventor sometimes has a glitchy keyboard. So we are going to open the keyboard when we want to use it, and we're going to close the keyboard when we don't. So once that's off, I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to open up Autodesk Inventor Professional 2020 English. I've already loaded this up so that it moves a little quicker. I'm going to pull down the shade at the top, and I'm going to grab the pointer. So the pointer, again, I can touch anywhere on the screen and touch and drag this around. We need to be careful because touch let go is a click. Touch and drag is a little bit different. So keep that in mind as we move forward. We're in the Get Started tab. I'm going to come up here to New, and I'm going to click the New icon. And we are going to be creating a new standard IPT. So you can either double click on standard IPT here, or click on it once, and while it's highlighted, click on Create. You're going to notice it's going to load up a brand new Inventor part. Give it a little bit of time, watching it at the bottom. One of the first things we're going to do with this Inventor part is we're going to save it immediately. Give it a location so that we can access this later. It's currently called Part 1. So we're going to come up to the orange File tab, and immediately we're going to go down to Save As. And I'm just going to click on Save As. We need to select a location for this to go. I'm going to drop down the list. Through all of the things here down at the bottom, you're going to see your H drive. It has this gray and green symbol. It has your username right here. I'm going to click on my H drive to give it a location. And then I'm going to click in for the file name. You're going to notice the keyboard doesn't pop up because we have to open it when we want to use it. So we pull down the shade. We open up the keyboard. Now I could start typing and it may shift the screen up so that I could see it. Okay, Gumball. But you notice I can't see what I'm typing right now. It's a bit of an issue sometimes, so if this keyboard is in your way, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to pinch on the keyboard. By pinching, we can move that keyboard anywhere on our screen. And I'm going to put in Gumball space piece 4. So we are creating this top piece here, and it is stamped number 4. Once you have that typed in, we're going to come down and we're going to click Save. So we've just given it a name, we've given it a location. At this moment, I don't want my keyboard up anymore. We are going to do something with it though. So I'm going to expand my fingers to open it, and before we tuck this away, you're going to see right here I have Tab and Escape and Windows, Control, Alt, Delete, Cut, Copy, Paste, Undo, and Home. We want this to always be available. So go all the way to the right there and you'll see a pin. I want to pin that so that stays on my screen. We're going to use some of those tools a lot. Now in the bottom right of the keyboard, there is the keyboard arrow down, so I can shrink that away. And we can open this up later when we need to, and I still have that toolbar at the bottom. Okay, so we are going to create a part now. We are going to start a 2D sketch. I click on the symbol for Start 2D Sketch. We need to tell it what plane we want to sketch on. And I would like to sketch on the XY plane right here. Once that XY plane is red, we're going to click and let go. And it shifts the screen for us. Another cool thing is it is now switched from the 3D Model tab to an Active Sketch tab. Because we just created a new sketch called Sketch 1, it has now opened up the Sketch tab for us and it is active. So we are going to be drawing a rectangle. Now a 2-point rectangle needs 2 corners. We're going to select the first corner and then we're going to tell it exactly how big it should be when we're drawing this. So let's grab the picture for the 2-point rectangle. Next, we're going to carefully move our pointer to the origin. Once it's green, you are going to click and let go. So what that does is it sets one of those 2 points. Now you need to be careful as you're moving this up. You don't want to accidentally click again and then lock in your rectangle. You want to click and drag to move your pointer and just let go. We don't want to tap it in. If you do accidentally tap the second point, it happens. I'm going to show you that. Please don't do this. If I accidentally put it in, I was just a little too tappy, I can hit the escape key at the bottom, ESC. I can hit the undo key at the top, or it's also at the bottom. And then I could try to do this one more time, being a little more careful this time. So I click once, and I click and drag. So now we have to tell it exactly how wide is this rectangle supposed to be and how tall. So our part is 5 inches deep and it is 4 inches wide and it is 3/4 of an inch tall. You and I are going to be drawing this shape right here. So we're drawing this rectangle and then we're going to extrude that rectangle to give it some depth. So our length right here is highlighted blue. So we can grab our keyboard and we can start typing. Now I'm going to shrink my keyboard. Just want to see what I'm typing. Okay, our width of this rectangle is going to be 5. I'm going to expand the keyboard. I want to use the tab key here. So up above the W, there's a tab key. When I hit tab, it switches from the width to the height. And you'll notice it locked the width in at 5 inches. So now we need to tell it how tall. It is supposed to be 0.75. Once you've told it to be 5 inches wide, 0.75 inches tall, you can now hit the return key on your keyboard and it's going to lock it in. But you're going to notice you can't see it because it is way too zoomed in up here. So we need to zoom our screen out so that we can see the rectangle. Alrighty, opening my keyboard, hitting the escape key. I'm going to watch my rectangle tool leave my hand. ESC. Dropping down my keyboard. Okay, now I want to click on the word front. Okay, so I have a 5-inch wide piece. I have 0.75 inches tall. We're done with this sketch, so we need to tell Inventor we're done and we're ready to move on. Take your pointer and come up to the green check mark. Tell Inventor you're done with the sketch. Next, I want to see this in that nice 3D isometric view. It's a little too zoomed in for my liking, so I'm going to come down to this navigation cube and click on the home. It's pretty good. Now we are ready to extrude this. So you'll notice when we finished our sketch, it left the active sketch tab and came back to 3D model. We're going to use the extrude tool in 3D model. Inventor's pretty cool. It knew that we only had one shape, so it grabbed it for us. You'll notice one profile was already selected. Sweet. We're going to change two things with this. We're going to change the direction. We're going to make it flipped. And we're going to change the distance. So I'm going to click inside of distance A. Open my keyboard. I want distance A to be 4 inches. Once we've done that, we can come over and click OK. And finally, we'll come up to our navigation cube and click the home button. All right. So we now have the start of our piece here. Okay. We have a 5-inch long side, 4 inches across, 3/4 of an inch tall. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's save it. We're going to go use the quick save icon up here. Quick save. Oop. Alrighty. Next up, we need to cut out a couple different circles on here. We're going to start with our large Forstner bit circle, which has a diameter across. Sorry, right there. A diameter across of 2 13/16. We'll get back to that. And it goes down 5/8 of an inch. And then notice it doesn't quite go all the way through the piece. So we're cutting most of the way through, but not all the way. Okay, so let's go make this together. Take your pointer. Let's go start a brand new 2D sketch. Click on that picture. Inventor wants to know, where do you want a 2D sketch? So I'm going to come over to the top of my piece. Once I'm on the top red portion, I'm going to click on that face. Awesome. And then to move everything into the middle of my view, I'm going to come up to the navigation cube and click the word top. If for some reason top is sideways, that happens sometimes. If you can't see it the way you want it, there are these two little arrows that allow you to turn it. You want to read the word top right there. Okay. Now that we've started a 2D sketch, we can see everything on our part. We're going to come up to the circle tool. Grab that circle tool. First, we need to tell it where's the center of this circle going to be. And we don't have a specific dimension yet. For now, I'm going to ask that you move your mouse, your pointer somewhere on your part, somewhere close to the middle, and you're going to click and let go. So you've locked in the center of your circle, and now we need to tell it exactly how big is this circle supposed to be. So you'll notice it's currently at 0 inches. I'm going to go and grab my keyboard, pinching it down. I want to type in 2 space, and we can actually put in fractions in here. 13/16. Inventor's pretty cool. It understands fractions. So 2 13/16. Once you've done that, you can hit the return key on your keyboard. Now we're ready to get rid of our keyboard. If you don't want to open it up and shrink it down, you can always come up to the shade. Oh, I take that back, sorry. Let's open it up and drop it down. Not too bad. Next up, I want to drop the circle that's in my hand. So from my keyboard, I need to hit the escape key, ESC. I want to drop that circle tool so it's no longer held. And now we're ready to use a new tool called Dimension. We need to locate this circle because all of our circles are the right size, but we need to move them side to side and up and down. So I'm going to do a dimension from the top of my part, click and let go, to the center dot. Very carefully find that little center dot. When it turns red, click and let go. I'm going to take my mouse, my pointer, I'm going to put the number between the arrows and off my part, and I'm going to click and let go. Alrighty. So to center this, we know that the part is 4 inches tall right now, the way that it's viewed. So we need to type in the number 2 here. So it's highlighted blue. I can grab my keyboard and type the number 2. Let me show you so you can see it. Type the number 2 and hit return. Alright, I'm going to put the keyboard off to the side now. I still have the dimension tool in my hand, so we're going to do another dimension. I want to dimension from the left side of my part, click, to the center dot of my circle, click. I'm going to move my dimension between here and off my part. Now if you accidentally click to place it, and you're freaking out, you can't get this. If you hit the escape key on your keyboard to drop your dimension tool, you can click and hold and drag a dimension and move it around. It's still locked into one side and one point. You can move it wherever you need to in case you accidentally clicked and let go. Or you always have the option, if you're really frustrated, just hit the escape key, drop your tool, hit the undo button, and just say, you know what, I'm going to try it again, but this time I'm going to make sure I click on the line, click on the dot, and I make it off my part before I click. So this needs to be 2.5 inches. We could write this a number of ways. We could do 2 space 1/2. I'm actually going to do it as a decimal. I'm going to put in 2.5 because I know that a half is 0.5 in decimal. Now I'm going to hit return. We have a circle that's the right size. It's the right location left to right. It's the right location up and down. I'm going to come up to the green check mark and we are going to finish the sketch. Next, we're going to use the exact same tool we used before called extrude. We're just going to do something funky with it. So let's go to the home view just so we can see everything. Let's go grab our extrude tool. Inventor is nice again. It noticed there's only one profile, so it grabbed it. It's currently trying to join it up above. We want to change the output to tell it to cut. So down here in the output, we're going to change from join to cut. It's currently set to cut 1 inch deep, which is way too deep. So we need to come into our distance, grab our keyboard, And we need to change the distance A here to 5/8. Alrighty, we've told it to cut, we've told it to go down 5/8 of an inch, so we can click OK. Now that we've finished cutting out this circle, we're going to come up to the save icon up here. We're going to save this part. Boom, it has now updated the part. It's in the right location in your H drive, and we're ready to move on to the next circle. We are going to start a 2D sketch. Our 2D sketch this time is going to be inside of that hole that we just cut out. So that face at the bottom of the hole, we're going to draw directly on top of there. And then I'm going to click on the top view. Okay. So we are going to be, see if I can get this in the right orientation for you. We are going to be drawing this with the hole towards this side up here. Okay? So I want that hole to be right over here on my part. If I went to the home view, there we go. So I want that hole to be right up here. So I'm going to go to the top. We're going to grab a circle. We're going to put our circle somewhere off to the left side of this hole here. I'm going to put it about here. Doesn't have to be perfect right now. We're going to add dimensions. Okay, so we want to tell it exactly how big is this circle supposed to be. It is 5/8 of an inch. So we need to grab our keyboard and we're going to put in 5/8 and then we're going to hit return. Oops. Let me try that again. Looks like I did not place it. Start a 2D sketch on the top. I'm going to put a circle right here. Now I'm going to tell it to be 5/8 of an inch. Return. Okay. Good to go. Alrighty, next up, I'm going to drop my circle tool with the escape key. And now I'm going to grab my dimension tool. We're going to do a dimension from the edge of our part, click, to the center of this circle, click. I'm going to put this up above our part. We're going to make this hole 2 inches from the edge. Find your keyboard, type in the number 2 and hit return. While I still have the dimension tool in my hand, we're going to do a dimension from the top of our part, click, to the center of the circle, click. We're going to place this off to the side of our part, and we're going to make this 2 inches from the edge. Keyboard 2, return. Looks pretty good. We have the right size, 5/8, which in decimal form is 0.625. We're 2 inches from both of the edges. So we're ready to finish our sketch. Go to the home view, and we're going to cut this through all. So we're going to come up to the extrude tool. It already grabbed the one profile for us. Awesome. We're going to tell it to cut, but instead of just cutting 1 inch deep, we have options here. So we can tell it to go a specific distance. We can tell it to go to a certain face, or we can tell it to go through all. This button right here says, you know what, just cut through everything there, through all, and then I'm going to click OK. So we now have that hole right there cut through our piece number 4. Let's save this. Save, save, save. We have one final thing to do on here. And this is actually a step we're going to do earlier in the process of building this. All of the edges of our piece here have a nice route on them. We're going to use a router on all of these edges. To do that in Inventor, we're going to grab a tool called chamfer. So next to hole fillet, there's a little button. If you hover over it, it says chamfer. We're going to click on the chamfer tool. We're going to leave the distance at 0.125 for now. We may change that, we'll see. We're going to come down, and it needs us to select edges. So I'm going to come down and click on an edge here. Okay, not too bad. What if we cancel this? What if we grab a chamfer and we change the distance to 0.25. So instead of 1/8 of an inch, it's 1/4 of an inch. And then we select an edge. That's going to be too much. Or is it? That looks pretty good. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 edges, 4 edges. So I've done the top and the bottom of each of these sides, and then I'm going to apply. I did 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to come up to my navigation cube, and I'm going to click on that back corner of the cube, and it's going to spin it all the way around. And now we can select 1, 2, 3, 4, and click apply. Now that we've done all 4 edges on the top, all 4 edges on the bottom, I can hit cancel, and I can go back to my home view, and there's our part. Just so you guys can see, I'm going to grab the orbit tool over here. I'm going to click and move this around. Looking pretty good. Chamfers on all the edges. If you missed one, go back and do one of those chamfers. We've got our 2 holes. All right. I'm going to hit the escape key to drop my orbit. I'm going to hit the home, and I'm going to make sure that I save this part. Our last but not least, we want to give this a wood texture as opposed to being gray. So I'm going to come up to the top. These 2 little arrows at the top, we're going to go into the default section. And they have all sorts of different woods in here. If I grab that side, let's see what white oak looks like. I like it. It looks pretty good. you have to decide what is the material yours is made out of in here. So you get to pick some sort of wood. Walnut is a wood. There's pine in here. Ours is going to be made out of basswood when we actually create it. There's plywood. Driftwood. Chestnut. Birch. Let's see what birch looks like. Not bad. Alrighty. I'm going to put mine back to the yellow oak all the way at the bottom. Or sorry, white oak, not yellow pine. Put it back to white oak. I'm going to click the save icon up here. You are now done with your piece number 4 for your gumball machine. And we are going to continue to work through these as we create all of the pieces that come into making this. Working our way through there. Good job, everyone. Nicely done.